Imagine being able to stream every curling game from every sheet from any event, be it your Wednesday league game, bonspiel, or corporate event. Curling Stadium offers an all-inclusive streaming solution featuring high-quality cameras, ease of use, great reliability, and minimal installation. Offering your sponsors customizable ad space on your streamed curling games and being able to sell video packages to your corporate events for increased revenue. With Curling Stadium, you can stream to any device, be it your mobile phone, tablet, or computer. Push the feed to your desired platform, be it Facebook, YouTube, or any other social media. Curling Stadium is simply the way forward. Where it's commonplace in other sports to televise every game, we want to do the same. Curling is a global sport, and it's time it gets the coverage it needs. Make your curling club the next Curling Stadium.
We asked Saskatchewan what they know about 5G.
More speed, more innovation.
It's gonna make our lives a whole heck of a lot easier.
This is what 5G looks like.
Better, faster.
Sounds like one more G. Sounds pretty good.
I don't know what it means.
All you really need to know is the future of 5G is here and will continue improving through investments in network technology.
Yes, can you hear me? There we go. Sorry, I had some technical difficulties there for a second. Well, absolutely. pretty much the only thing we do know is that the 4 lost teams are eliminated. So we're down to 6 teams possibly make it, but only 5 will make it into the playoffs. So whether they play tiebreaker games or it's just a broken tie by draw to the button, I'm not entirely sure. Are you aware of? Well, let's see if I can find them then. So I'm looking at the tiebreaker standings right now, and it appears as though Colton Flasch is in the lead for the tournament with 0. So they must have pinned all but one of theirs. It looks like they dropped their worst. John Epping currently sitting in 7th place in terms of the draws. So it's going to be very important for him to try to win his way in if possible. The only teams below him are Hartung, Myers, and Laycock. And Hartung and Myers are already eliminated. So if you're John Epping, you pretty much, I think, well, you have to win this game regardless in order to make it into the playoffs, and then hope for poor draws by some of the people above you. Moving on, taking a quick look at the first end here. Not too many rocks in play, but it is a good opportunity for Colton Flasch to hit this rock on the wings and sit 2. I believe this is the 4th game in a row that Colton has started with the hammer, and as I just said, looking at their draws for hammer, they have gotten the pin 3 out of their 4 games. The one game that they didn't, they got 17 inches, still good enough to win their hammer. And for most of their games, they come in with a undefeated 4-0 record, and the closest game they had was a 5-2 win over Hartung. So really making it a habit of getting the hammer and taking control of the games early and not looking back. So it'll be really important if you're Team Epping here to start off strong and keep this game close for as long as you can and hopefully beat them in the back half, because as I'm looking at it, it doesn't look like Flasch has played 8 ends too many times here this weekend.
Oh, they certainly have been a dominant team thus far. As we said off the top, opened up, have guaranteed themselves a spot in the playoffs. Can clinch the top seed if they pick up the victory here, and in a good spot right now. Last rock in the first deck, sitting 1 partially behind cover, a chance to sit 2 right now with Catlin Schneider's stone. Now, of course, if Colton Flasch wins this game, we will know our 5 playoff teams, because that would eliminate John Epping, but we still won't know necessarily the seeding, because, and that matters. The top 3 teams go directly through to the semifinal. The 4th and 5th place team play in what is essentially a quarterfinal, so they have an extra game ahead of them, and that'll come down to the last draw tonight to determine that, because those 3 teams that are all sitting at 3-1 right now all play in the last draw.
Absolutely. The only 2 things we really know for certain is that if Team Flasch wins this game, they will get the top seed. And John Epping also needs to win this game to keep his hopes alive of the playoffs. So glad they're playing against each other on Sunday night, right at the end of the round robin. This should be quite the matchup to watch.
John Epping looking to make a play on the redstone that he can see, possibly get to the inside and flop underneath. Got to get by the other redstone. He actually just rubs off of it. And that kills his momentum enough that doesn't have enough to take the redstone out the back either. He is sitting, I believe, shot rock right now. That's close for who shot, but the Epping stone is exposed now. Chance for Colton Flasch to hit and perhaps sit 3.
Yeah, it's going to be very difficult here now. If Colton can roll this rock to a really good spot, it's going to be pretty tough to find a double. You could always, I guess, make the double on the 2 redstones that are in the rings right now, but you're always going to lose your shooter. So if Colton can just hold this rock over on the side of the rings, pretty much will be you'd think at least a guaranteed deuce, unless John decides to take on a lot of risk and maybe try and make a hit and roll. But
he might have to. Like you said, that double, slash double, it's available. Not a gimme by any means. First things first, Colton Flasch needs to make this hit. He wants to roll away from the center line a little bit. Pressure's keeping it clean, picking it up, off and on. They've been throwing these shots with this nice quiet weight all week. Makes the contact a little thin, but does, with that nice quiet controlled weight, rolls over to the corner of the 12-foot, does sit 3. Decision time for John Epping. Play the double?
Yeah.
Play the roll underneath.
If it was me, I'd be taking a crack at the double all day. I think it is later in the weekend, so I guess if they were really confident in the ice, you could take on the hit and roll behind the guard. But with the hitting ability of Colton Flasch and what you just said, he just showed that he made a really great shot there with some nice down control weight. So if you show any of the rock and you don't make that hit and roll perfectly, you're probably giving him a pretty good chance at 3. So just going to take on the slash double here to hopefully cut them down to 2.
Makes the contact, does catch the second stone. The shooter flies out of the rings as well. So Colton Flasch, indeed, sitting 1 right now, and will have a chance to draw. Just needs a piece of the 12-foot. Can pick up another deuce in the opening end and continue in his trend of putting the pressure on through his 5 preliminary round games. This team on fire since the event started. And certainly when you're looking to secure that number 1 seed, this is the type of start they wanted. Probably not what John Epping had in mind, but he knew coming into this he was facing a team that has been rolling.
Absolutely. Just looking back at their 4 games, obviously we've already mentioned, started with the hammer in each one, but have outscored their opponents 24-5 in their 4 games so far this weekend. So not just that they're playing so well and scoring lots of points, but also limiting their opponents to, on average, just over a point per game is quite extraordinary.
Yeah, I've been calling all their games. I'd have to go back and look, but off the top of my head, I don't think they have trailed yet in this event. And they don't trail here. They pick up 2 in the first end. Colton Flasch out to a 2-0 lead after the first end of play.
We truly believe that this is an opportunity to partner within a sport that is emerging. It's getting stronger and stronger every year. And, the continued success of teams like yourselves really helps to elevate not only the sport, but also those companies that are involved with you.
We love being part of community events and community participation, everything from golf to hockey to curling to supporting teams like Team Flasch. It's right in our wheelhouse, and it's allowed us to grow our company significantly, which for positive reasons means we've got to grow our plant as well. So we are going into a large expansion on our current site, and we will be expanding the brewery's capacity, almost doubling it, and at the same time increasing our efficiency. So we'll be using less water, less energy to make the same great beer.
Imagine a place with endless possibilities.
Imagine a place where people come together to build families, businesses, and communities. Imagine a place where small-town values and progressive qualities are in perfect harmony. Imagine a place rich with so much vitality. Imagine your future in Martensville.
Second end underway. The Flash team, even with the lead, brings a tight center guard in, and now we're going to see an attempt at the corner guard.
And I think that shows a lot of confidence too. Of course, Colton Flasch, one of the sort of strongest hitters on the tour already, and could definitely just throw it in the rings and play defensively with a 2-point lead, but they're feeling confident in the ice, and I think the results have shown it. So they're not afraid to go up against probably one of the other top men's teams in Canada with John Epping's squad, and go toe-to-toe with them and really push the envelope and keep the pressure on them even with this early lead. Still plenty of game to go, so you can't really run and hide yet.
Yeah, that might be the biggest factor there. It's maybe a little early to just start piling them in the rings, because you know this Epping team knows how to generate points. It's been long been one of John Epping's strongest traits.
Absolutely. It's a battle of two different minds here in this game, John. Loving, I think it's pretty clear in the past, he's loved to sort of junk up the rings and make those big last shots to score points like angle runbacks and taps. And Colton Flasch, one of the strongest hitters, and has really leaned on that skill set of his since he began skipping just a few years, or came back to skipping, I should say, just a few years ago after leaving the Kevin Cooey squad.
Well, here's the first slight miscue from the Flash team, trying to come around, just chips off that stone. So an opportunity for the Epping team to try to come around their corner. This is the lead, Scott Chadwick. Still got lots of room by the corner. Again, as for those of you who've been with us all week long, you've seen lots of late finish on these rocks from the hog line in. You'll get well, a good 2 feet of curl on a draw, sometimes a little bit more. So really don't have to come too tight by the guards to get buried. Brings that stone into the top 12 foot.
And that really is great positioning. And that's the difference between sort of the top teams on the tour and the teams that are really close, is the ability to not only just make that draw dead buried around the corner, but to put it in such a perfect spot, not too deep where they're able to follow you down and freeze to it, just dead buried, top 12, and now you're forcing Team Flash to throw a tricky little hack waiter here. I don't think he's necessarily worried about removing the stone from the rings. Obviously, if you can, that'd be great, but at least just move it out into the open, and your shooter's going to roll towards your other guard, so it's possible to roll behind.
I was just going to say they might have been okay if they moved the guard too, but you'd want to move it a little bit more than that if you did. Got perhaps a little bit fortunate at the end, came down after rubbing the blue guard, rubbed the red one as well, and ended up corner frozen on that blue. So while they can't see all of the blue stone, they can definitely see enough of their own to make a play on the blue.
I don't think they're necessarily complaining all that much about the outcome there.
Yeah, it may not have been plan A, might not even have been plan B, but it works out for you.
So John's switching up a little bit here to draw around the rocks on the other side of the rings. You do have to be careful here. If you don't put this deep enough, Colton can always come down and come off that rock they just threw and make a double. But of course, if you go too deep, he's probably going to follow you down and freeze here too. So you want to put this in a really good spot, top 4, although this looks like it's maybe just slipping that little bit deep.
And Colton Flasch, as you suggested, with that rock sliding behind the tee line, going to look to follow it down. Well, debating whether they still hit the front one. I think if they could make the hit and roll off the front one and get shot rock, they wouldn't even be debating this, but still going to play the hit. I don't think they can roll in. Well, he's playing this fairly quiet. Maybe he is trying to get a thin piece on the first one and roll into the top of the 8-foot somehow.
I think so. At least if you roll off, you sort of roll to the center line. You have control over the entire top of the rings. This looks like it's maybe going to hit a bit thin and roll too far. But either way, I think with Colton's hitting ability, he's not necessarily worried about John drawing around that red stone again because it's such a short run back. Now, because of that, I don't think we'll see John throw that. He'll either hit this red rock in the rings or try and go around it. But I think he has enough hitting ability that he's still got plenty of time to make a double later. So he was just hoping to sort of play a bit of a setup shot there and stick around. Unfortunately, rolling out puts the ball back in John Epping's court here, and we'll see what he decides to do.
Yeah, that red stone was never going to move. It stays there. It's really got the corner guard choked off. John talking about possibly trying to come right around the red. The first call was, as you indicated, maybe hit that red, and you're doing that as much as anything else just to open up a path to get around the corner later. Could roll into the rings off this too. Sit 2 for now, as well as opening up your corner guard.
Yeah, with how much curl we've been seeing this week, that draw around is certainly possible, but John maybe not quite sure, or just deciding that this is the better outcome. He's going to try and hit this red stone and hopefully stick somewhere in the rings, sit 2.
It's got the hit. It's just a question now how far it's going to roll. Can he get in behind cover? It's half in behind that anyway.
I was going to say, if you had to choose a roll, that's pretty close to perfect. There is probably enough separation there between the red and the blue that you can come over the top and double the blues off, but not a bad shot either way. It would roll his shooter out and leave the red wide open.
Well, and completely open up the center line area. So John Epping, as much as you'd love them to not make the run back, this whole shot plays into your advantage. You'll have the center line open. You've got a corner guard to work with. Makes the hit, runs back, actually makes contact with both blue stones, and they will both leave the rings. It is Colton Flasch now sitting 1, but nothing in the middle, and a corner guard to work with. Chance for John Epping still.
One of the amazing things that happened with that shot, though, is where that red rock ended up rolling to. It didn't roll directly behind the guard. It actually exposed itself a little bit into the open. So now John has to be really careful because he can't just try and sink around the red, because it would leave a very short run back for Team Flasch. So instead, he has to play a much more precise corner freeze onto this red stone.
Nothing out of the brushers so far, waiting on the line. Not even a clean sweep. It doesn't look that heavy to me.
It should curl over there if the weight is good.
Now looking for a little extra curl. And we'll put it right beside the red stone sitting in the 12-foot. It is the Epping stone sitting shot rock, mostly behind cover. And it is a bit of a problem for the Flasch team. Don't think you can get to the nose of that to get it clean by the red stone.
I think maybe you can, but you'd have to have perfect weight and play it very close to the guard. One of the good things is, of course, they just saw this shot.
Yeah, they did.
Or at least an attempt at this shot a few rocks ago.
Well, and he won't mind if he rubs that red stone over in attempting to remove the blue, just because it then puts it completely out in the open.
Definitely, if you're any more than hack, it makes it very tough. But as long as you're around hack weight, you should get the finish around the guard to make it. They really got to go here, though.
Yeah, I was going to say, again, chipping the guard was okay. Just tickle rubbing it again like that, and that's the second time they've done that in this end. That result doesn't really help them a lot. You almost had to make a decision there. If you're not going to get by, clip it a little bit thicker and make sure it's no longer protecting shot stone.
Absolutely. Of course, it did move it a little bit, so that hit is now definitely there. But if John
Shooter does
does,
come to rest
or if
back
Matt
8.
Cam, yeah, if Matt Cam does his job here, I don't think you're going to get another chance to play it.
I think the discussion here from the Epping team, where do you want to roll? Or do you just play it as a dead freeze? You play the dead freeze,
The
and
freeze is very good. I think if you try to roll to the left side of the sheet, as we see on our overhead, then Team Flash might actually attempt the same shot to remove that stone from the corner guard and roll towards it. So I think you definitely want to keep things more to that side of the sheet. Dead freeze on it on the nose is also very good.
I think that's why they're going to the freeze. I think if you hit this stone at all and you don't get buried, Colton Flasch just hits this one, and if you do bury, he's going to freeze to you. By making the freeze here, you could force Colton Flasch to make a play on the stone at the top of the rings, which, not a gimme to get that out now. Nudges it just a little bit. That might give Colton enough room to just pick this one out. He is looking at the top one.
Take a look at this. He could play the same shot, and the great thing about it is if you do make it, you're sort of rolling to the center line. It would be very tough to get shot out of it, but even if you put another red stone at the top of the 8-foot, it's something that John has to think about where he's going to put his next rock, that he doesn't leave some kind of short run back or double.
Yeah, that hit on the blue stone at the top of the 8, though, is still not, it's not a gimme. I mean, you hit half a rock, it's going to clip that red fairly thick, and it doesn't look like they want to play it with a lot of weight.
Absolutely. It certainly would bring a lot more risk into it, and I think I would be maybe a little wary if I was Colton, especially since they've tried that shot twice already this end and didn't quite get the results they wanted. I think with the 2-point lead, smarter call might just be to pick out the back one and
even hit it on the nose. Right now, Epping is sitting 2, so that stone at the back of the 8-foot, not really helping you, so you may as well take them both here.
Hit on the nose, I would almost certainly think that John would try to freeze it again. Probably if you pick it, he's doing the same anyways, so.
If you pick it, he may still play the freeze. He doesn't have to. He won't, that stone at the back of the 12-foot would not be shot rock. He could elect to try to come around something and maybe see if he could get 3 here. I'm not saying he'll do it. But as we said, John Epping is good at generating points, and you don't do that by being overly conservative. He might play the aggressive play, try to come around. And certainly on this ice, we know there's a red stone just outside of the rings. Plenty of room to get around that. He could even try to come right around his own and see if he could set up a 3 here. I think it's important for Colton Flasch to be sitting shot rock after this is done, just to force him to play it.
I think if I was John and Colton ended up hitting and rolling this out, I'd probably look a little bit more at drawing around the red tight corner guard. The only thing about going around your own blue stone is you may leave a short angle run in with the red rock that's right beside it, which could possibly allow Colton to jam it right in behind and sit shot himself in a spot that is very difficult to get at. So I think if you go around the red, you're probably leaving the short run back for Colton, but it's unlikely that he'll end up dead stuffing the run back and sitting shot. So that's probably the better way to go here.
And made even a little better by the fact that Colton Flasch rolled over there and sits in the back 12-foot, a rock that you could possibly jam on.
Yeah, I think if you're playing this, you almost want to try to not go fully buried behind the stone. If you end up going fully buried, Colton will have the ability to play the straight run back and have the opportunity to dead stick it behind. If you end up more something like even half open, all Colton can really do is just try and pick it out, and maybe he can roll to a good spot, but it's unlikely. So I think he's going to try and leave this a piece open on the center line side, somewhere above the tee line.
John Epping with his first stone here in the second end, trailing by 2. Sitting 1 right now, looking to split the house and bury this, put some pressure back on the Flash team. They have not faced a lot of pressure so far this week. got nice weight. It's just a question of whether or not they can bring it far enough to bury, and looks like it has just stayed completely open.
Yeah, and I think just early in this game, maybe just playing a little bit safe with the ice in a spot that you're not sure about. Made sure he took plenty of ice to make sure he was never really worried about wrecking on that guard, but ends up wide open and maybe with enough space. Can Colton ever just flop in behind that red stone? It would be very tight, but if you are confident in the spot.
Risky to try to roll away from it because he could jam on the one at the back. Shot that they haven't looked at, and I'm not sure they can see enough because it's a very flat double. They haven't looked at that. Yes, you would lose your own red. I don't know if they could see enough of that higher blue stone to make the flat double. If the guard wasn't there, it's probably there.
I don't think you can see enough. You could possibly hit and roll off of that rock and roll towards the blue, or maybe tuck a piece behind it, but that would leave a short little run back for 2 anyways. So it looks like with this ice, he might just be throwing some weight here, just making sure he gets rid of it and sort of conceding the 2.
I think if he's playing the out turn here, and I think that's what he's playing,
he's trying to roll across the ring
hard and get the long flat roll.
Well, if there's anybody who can throw it that hard, it's Colton.
Yeah, or the guy he used to play with.
Oh, wow, almost goes the other way.
Yeah, might have been just a little bit outside on that. Gets the hit, but rolls past the redstone and into the 12-foot. It is still John Epping sitting 1, and he will have an opportunity with his final stone here in the second end to draw for his second point, tie things up. Needs to bite the 8-foot. So 2 points for the Flash team in the first end, a chance for Epping to get them right back here in the second. Would not surprise me if we see a lot of this back and forth in this game. We could very well see these two teams facing off in March wearing provincial colors. Catlin Schneider meeting it at the tee line, seeing if he can get it all the way back. This is sliding a little deep. Comes to rest fullback 12. Now they're going to have to take a look. This is close to who's got second shot.
Very close. You want to test your eyes?
With the size of the screen that I'm dealing with.
I'm gonna say blue. I'm gonna put my credibility on the line here. I'll say blue.
Yeah. Well, I think the Flash team thinks it's theirs because they backed away and left for Matt Cam to decide whether he wanted a measurement or not. He's kicked them off. So I think it was 1 point for John Epping, but we will have to wait until they put it up on the board to know for sure. Epping scores for sure. It appears to be a 2-1 lead for Colton Flasch going into the third.
Imagine a place with endless possibilities. Imagine a place where people come together to build families, businesses, and communities. Imagine a place where small-town values and progressive qualities are in perfect harmony. Imagine a place rich with so much vitality. Imagine your future in Martensville.
So it was just a single point for John Epping. That last draw sliding just a little bit too far. Colton Flasch with a 2-1 lead here, and last rock as we begin playing the third end.
Maybe I shouldn't have put my credibility on the line there. Ruined.
I don't even know what we can do with that. We're calling these games from a remote location. If we were in the same building, you would have to buy me coffee now.
I'll ship out something to Saskatchewan. Give it a week or so. Either way, definitely a missed opportunity there for Epping. Really a chance for a no pressure shot to put 2 points back on the board, and that's granted. There of course is still plenty of game left to play, but from what we've seen from Team Flasch, how much they've dominated their games and been able to take early leads and really ride them to short victories. Definitely one I'm sure John would have liked to have back there.
Yeah, and you know, kind of came out of nowhere, because that's the other thing about it is it was the exact same shot he threw on his first one. And that's certainly not something you expect from John Epping. He's one of the finest last stone throwers in the country. And usually you give him a chance to play the same shot twice in a row, he'll put the second one exactly where he needs it.
Certainly not a mistake I'll expect to see twice in this game, but could have maybe got caught sort of, he decided to throw sort of a similar path to what he did on his first one. Granted, you'd think somewhere near the middle there, it should be well broken down, but sometimes when you throw a couple rocks down the same path back to back, it does tend to speed up a little bit. So maybe just getting caught a little bit on the ice changing a hair there.
Looking for the freeze there, it comes down and just bumps off that a little bit. This opens the door a little bit for the Epping team. Got a chance to make a play on that redstone. Question will be, does he try to just freeze the inside corner? I think with that ice, he's looking to remove it. Apologies, we can't hear the players at all.
Definitely with that ice, he's looking to remove the first one. Not sure if he really wants to move the second stone. He might just be looking to hit and roll behind here.
Yeah, he doesn't even have to roll over towards the other red stone. That stone's open as well. So if he just gets this buried, he could sit second and third behind cover. This is going to have to curl to get that, though.
I think it won't take long, although maybe with the slight miss there. I was going to say, if you made the really good roll in behind, we might see Colton just run up and start running back some guards. But with that little bit of a slip out, I wouldn't be surprised to see Colton try and play a little hit and flop and under. If you can ever roll just a little bit exposed on the other side of the guard, get that angle onto that blue rock where you can remove it later, it would put them in a very good position.
Yeah, that not exactly what the Epping team was looking for, but when they moved their own stone a few inches, they left themselves an angle in the house, so not the end of the world. And here we see the Flash team having the same issue. They can't get that last little bit of curl, looking to hit that probably that much on the other side. Does remove the blue stone, but the red rolls over a little farther away from the center line, leaves a drop port.
And we have seen that a lot this week, where with just that little bit extra weight, it runs a lot straighter than you might assume. Most of the curl on the draws, we are getting plenty of curl on the draws, I should say, but most of the curl is very late. It'll run straight for a long time. It'll curl about 2.5 or 3 feet hog line in. So with that little bit extra hit weight, it tends to run that hair bit straighter than you expect it to. I think we may have just seen Epping and Team Flasch get caught on that a little bit there.
Well, this is an opportunity now, looking to freeze to his own, perhaps line up the blue-blue-red.
I think you'd love to move that blue to frozen on the red if you can, although did it get enough curl? Doesn't look like it.
He's Again, he's
Difficult
getting
to
that
tell.
blue-red combination a little bit more lined up, but looks like Colton Flasch is going to make a play on the third shot and try to sit right there. You almost could play to double the blues. I think it would go over the top.
That's what I was going to say. Just looking at it, it's difficult to tell, but certainly I think if you hit sort of a half rock on that first blue on the high side, it would certainly push the other blue at least out into the open, although I saw him signaling to try and make a little flop in behind the guard and try and set something up for later, although once again, just not quite getting the curl they expected to, leaving it out in the open. I think it's sort of a battle here to see which team is going to figure out this spot first.
Takes away that draw path, though, for John Epping. And if he's coming towards his own stone, he'd like to come at it from this side. So that red rock, kind of dangerous for him. He'd like to make a play on it. Stay right there if he could.
John has to be very careful. That other red rock just sort of biting the rings at the top might not be something you think about every now and then, but with the hitting ability of the Flasch team, they can make lots of rocks fly and bring biters into play very quickly before you think they could.
Again, sweeping for some extra curl here. If they're on the outside of it this time, they could put the red onto their own blue. Just enough to get it by both of those stones on the top of the 8 foot. The shooter does stay for third shot.
Colton has to be a little bit careful here. If he ends up nosing that blue one more time, he's not going to be in the rings, which might leave the opportunity for John to play the other side of the sheet and maybe set something up with a little tap on his own stone. Although that being said, it will leave some very short runbacks for Colton too, and we know how well he throws those.
Catlin Schneider wants to come down, take a look at the angles. Colton had looked at coming around, perhaps freezing the blue at the top 8 foot. Considering the double as well, looking at, again, still trying to get that hit and roll under to get the shooter into the rings. There's a few options here. We are getting later in the end, though, too, so the more biters you leave around, you still have to find a way to get that blue out of the top of the 8 foot. You could just straight corner freeze to it now. Could play the attempt to double right now, and your shooter would roll over and probably promote that other red stone a little bit further into the rings.
Yeah, I think
the danger is
the opportunity for the blue double still there.
Yeah,
maybe.
Yeah, I think it looks like they've eliminated the corner freeze. They don't like this blue stone where it is. Certainly, it's a dangerous rock, powerful rock for the Epping team. It does cover a piece of the 4 foot. It's half in the 12 foot, so an easy rock for them to bump up with whatever weight they'd like to try it. They could play it as a draw tap or use it to slash something in.
Yeah, and I think this call comes down to the fact that Colton is still shot, remember, at the top of the 4 foot. So
yeah, true.
He's not necessarily too worried about rolling behind this center guard because it's very difficult for John to draw somewhere that they can't just follow them down and tap them back. So if you roll in front, you are blocking the ability for the Epping team to play a little tap on their own stone and have the opportunity to sit too.
Little sweep for curl there. Does hit it on the nose. The important thing for the Flasch team there is that they've left their own stone completely open, so they've got it available to play a raise if they need it.
For sure, and I don't think you'll see John moving any rocks quite yet. I think he'd like to freeze his own color in the top of the 8 foot, preferably cross the face just a hair to keep the angle straight back onto that red. If he ever leaves this a bit high side, then he's going to leave a double to sit, possibly 2 or 3 if you're Colton Flasch.
It does really force John Epping to play this side of the sheet. Flasch has really got the control of the other side of the sheet right now with his 2 stones, one in the rings and one just out. It cuts down the amount of room that John Epping has for error here, and this one curling on them really early.
And
Perhaps
already on
fortunate
the
it's
center
dead
guard.
light because it's not going to get by the center guard either. Had you chipped that guard out of the way, you could have been in all kinds of trouble here. Well, decision time now for Colton Flasch. You corner freeze that blue on the hope that you eventually have a chance to get it out, or ignore that situation, and you saw him indicate already, we could just play a tap to the 4 foot and sit 2 for now.
Yeah, one of the things I was maybe looking at is, could you ever play a bit of a tap on that blue yourself, stay angled enough to sort of push the red back to the T line, but keep an angle on the blue where you could remove it later? I know that's a very precise shot, but it would always leave you with something for a multiple score at the end, I would think.
I think I'd be afraid of what you might leave John Epping. It's really easy to, if you tap that second red a little too far, you could leave the double tap for John Epping to get up to the button and sit shot rock.
For sure. So it looks like he's decided to instead just go on the other side of the sheet. And the one good thing about this is they're playing a side that obviously they've been playing this side of the sheet all end. So they should have a pretty good idea of what the speed is. They haven't really thrown more than hack, so they know how much of these shots are going to curl.
This was their first instinct, and they've got the control of this side of the sheet. You may as well use it. Question now is, has he got enough weight to tap it far enough to be shot rock? I think he got second out of it.
Just enough, yep.
So Colton Flasch sitting 2 right now. John Epping in a little bit of trouble. Now those 2 center guards are very close together. Is he eyeing up a double run back?
Absolutely. Does it leave maybe a little bit of a... I don't think there is a double, actually. There's a hole there, so you got to be careful if you're John.
Well, it depends on how he can run that back. If he could make the double run back and the second guard, the second blue guard, get it just by the tight red one, catch the inside of the blue at the top of the 8 foot, he might be able to bring the run back stone across to catch the second red. Even if you just stuff it.
Could be possible. You have to be very careful with that you're not splitting the guards that are left out of the way.
You've got to hit them close to dead nose for sure. I think what they've settled on is just to come down and try to tap up their own stone enough to be second shot at least. Maybe move the red stone back as well.
I agree. Most important thing with this shot is to make sure you get to the inside. Anything high side or possibly even nose should leave enough of an angle, you would think, for Colton to have a shot at a double. If you get this to the inside, Colton might have a run back if you're not careful, but you could probably put it in a good enough spot that you'll always have a blue sitting around somewhere.
On the brush right away here. Now backed away a little bit. He's got a little bit of room by the guards. Oh, great judgment. Just gets by the 2 long guards, makes the tap. Now maybe hit that first one a little thinner than he would have liked. Doesn't move the red through the 4 foot. And the blue stone still partially exposed. And when he rolls over, his shooter's still sitting 4th. So Colton Flasch has a chance here to sit possibly 3. It's hard to say who's second shot right now. I think it might be Flasch still sitting second, and the problem there is if you make the play on the blue stone, you're going to roll away, and it gives John Epping room to perhaps draw one in there and go after the steal, or at least hit and roll off shot stone.
I was just thinking, it looks like he's looking quite a bit at removing that blue stone. One of the problems is if you hit it pretty close to nose, just enough to push it by the red, if you sort of stick right there, you could possibly leave maybe a triple. But if you roll too far out of the way, like you said, John could just come down, hit the rock on the button, and roll in behind all that stuff on the other side of the sheet, or possibly even just play a straight draw to cut Colton down.
Yeah, and I don't think, looking from the hack end camera, I don't think he can hit the blue close enough to the nose to stay there. They're about half a rock overlap, so he would have to roll. They even talked about playing a guard, and if they're thinking about the guard, they must think they're already sitting 2.
So what does John do if you throw the guard? He probably, he might just play the wide in-turn freeze to the red stone, and then it's very tough for Colton to get a second point in there.
True. Mind you, that's not a gimme shot either. Yeah.
No, other option, they might be able to come down and tap his own if you don't make the guard perfect. So
the only other option I see for him is he'd be playing a double tap, but he'd have to be promoting a red stone first, and I don't know if you want to put another red one in the rings and run the risk of leaving some kind of double or triple for 2 or 3. I think Colton more and more looking at removing the blue stone. If they roll to the corner and John Epping is able to make a shot, make a play on the shot stone, you would have your own stone available to come off of, perhaps for a double for 2.
I think the more I think about it, that's probably the call. Remove that blue rock. If you roll just sort of a rock or 2 to the outside, it does always give you something to come in off of if John makes a great shot. So it looks like they've just settled on the guard. I think if you make sure you're tight enough and you're at least covering the blue, it forces John into something a little bit tricky.
Yeah, all the discussion was about really that blue stone sitting by itself in the 8-foot. It's the dangerous stone right now. Do you guard it? Or do you ever think about trying to remove it and then giving them a direct path at shot rock? And it looks like they've decided to play the guard. He's still got tap ups on the other side for his last stone for sure. So trying to take away the rock that is the easiest for John Epping to work with right now. They picked up the brush on this one early. I think as much as anything else for line, this is tight, trying to hold it as straight as they can. They don't want to over curl here.
I think that'll be good enough to at least block the straight tap for John. Looks like he might be looking at what you were talking about some kind of double tap or possible promotion. I thought he might play the red guard closer to the center line into the blue stone top 8. Looks like he's found something else. If you ever could run this and just miss that blue stone frozen on top, is the triple there?
That's what I'm wondering. That might be what he's looking at. There's a lot of danger in playing that though, because if you ever clip it, push it onto the blue.
Yeah, the blue
swoops sideways into the other one, and
something's going to be exposed. Colton would have some sort of run back, you would think, for a bundle.
Sweeping for some curl here. He's very thin on the first one. Comes across, actually drives it onto his own stone, his second shot stone. Drives it to the back 12, and now Colton Flasch already sitting 2 for sure. I think Colton indicated the blue one is third shot. Well, I don't think Epping could have seen that as a possibility. You wouldn't have thought he could have hit that thin enough to drive it across the 2 stones in the top of the 8-foot. Colton Flasch now sitting 2 and a chance to draw for 3. hoping here for a chance for a big end. I don't think he expected this would be the way he'd get it.
No, it kind of came out of nowhere. You think with that shot, there wasn't a whole lot. I mean, there's definitely the possibility of things going wrong for Team Epping, but with how close you'd expect him to be, you really didn't expect to suddenly just be gifted the opportunity for 3 here.
Well, you know, this is an opportunity for 3, and if you come by that guard, even within about 6 inches of it, and get some finish, you wouldn't have to touch your own stone very much to make it 4.
No, you really only have to feather it a little bit. So
yeah.
I'm sure they're going to play this to make sure they get the 3, and if line happens to be perfect, they can sweep it for that. But sweeper's not staying too close, so it might be a little solid.
Well, they're looking for a little curl just to make sure they end up on their own stone in the 4-foot. Will pick up 3 points for sure. They're going to take a look at those 2 around the outside. Well, it's the Flash team backing away again. Now, Colton did seem to... thought he pointed at the blue one when he first settled. We might have a measurement coming here.
Certainly taking a longer look at it than I would have thought. I mean, I've already tried once and failed, so I'm not going to take a guess on this one.
Well, I was only going based on what Colton did when the rocks came to rest. He kind of tapped the blue one, and I think it looks blue myself, but of course, when you've got a blue rock and a red rock, and it's a blue set of rings, that really makes it hard to see the blue one very well. I think somebody has gone to get the stick.
As you're talking here, I'm taking a look at the replay, and that overhead is a lot closer than I first thought it was.
Well, we know it's 3 points at least for Colton Flasch, so he's got at least a 5-1 lead here. And isn't that the way it always works? When you have to measure a rock on a televised game, the measuring stick's always at the other end.
It's like Colton and trying to take a look under the rocks, because with the curve, sometimes you can see a little bit of space underneath the stone, one of the stones that you can't on the other, and that can be a good indication, but not all rocks are the same. So sometimes that can trick you out if they're really close.
So they weren't able to pass the stick by the blue stone. I think that would indicate that it was, in fact, 4th shot. If that's true, it'll be a score of 3 for Colton Flasch. He'll take a 5-1 lead into the 4th end.
The reason we trust Western Sales with our business is the people. I'm sure that there's 100 years experience coming out of that shop. We trust them because we do a CMI on our combine and on our tractor. When our equipment comes out of Western Sales, it's going to be good, because if it's not, they send us another combine, they send us another tractor, and we're not naive to the fact that that probably costs them a lot of money. So we just know that the service that we're getting at Western Sales is above par to everybody else.
Sean Joyce, Matthew Hall with you here live from the Curling Stadium, Martensville International. Colton Flasch, looking to secure the top seed in this event, has jumped out to a 5-1 lead over John Epping through 3 ends of play. Epping needs a win to stay alive for the playoffs. This is the final preliminary round game for both of these teams. First stone brought into the top of the button, and now the Epping team looking for the corner guard. Still another draw tonight, and on the men's side, a number of teams still jockeying for position. Colton Flasch comes into this draw 4-0. Mike McEwen already finished his preliminary round at 4-1, just looking to see where he'll be seated. The Schwaller team from Switzerland, 3-1. Yanagasawa from Japan, also 3-1. And Steve Laycock at 3-1. Those 3 teams will all be in action later tonight. And we won't know the playoff seedings until that final draw is done.
And I just took a look back. This is the second event of the year for the Epping team. Previously playing at the Curling Stadium Alberta Series last weekend, finished with a 2-2 record there and failed to qualify for the playoffs. So if they aren't able to come back in this game, it'll be their second event in a row where they failed to qualify. So possibly some early season jitters. It is a new squad, with the exception of Matt Cam. Pat Jansen and Scott Chadwick are 2 new players this year for John. So I'm sure it's just some early season rust that they're trying to shake off, getting used to each other. I have no doubt that they'll find their form eventually. John and all of these guys are too good of players to fail to qualify multiple events in a row. So I'm sure they'll shake it off, but possibly not what they were hoping for to start the year.
Well, of course, this game's not over yet. We did, on the women's side, they had a game yesterday. It was a 5-point deficit after the first end. And I believe it was Danielle Jensch, the German team, was able to come back and win that game.
Against Jennifer Jones, yes.
So with the 5-rock free guard zone, and again, a team like John Epping, who knows how to generate offense, you still got a chance. Colton Flasch going to try to make things a little bit more difficult this end. He's brought a couple of rocks into the rings already, now looking to guard it up a little bit.
And I'm sure with a big lead like this at the moment, Flasch may take it a little bit easier and waste some time peeling some stones. So I'm sure you'll have your opportunities. And let's not forget that John had a wide open opportunity for 2 points in the second end and just wasn't able to capitalize. So for sure the chances are going to be there, and we'll see if they can cash them in when they show up.
You'd have to think the Flash team probably doesn't mind giving up 2 right now, so that can open things up a little bit more for the Epping team if they're patient and are willing to take just a deuce. It gets real hard to generate the extra point, that third. And
yeah, and that just comes down to, you can usually always have a good opportunity at 2 if you make your 8 shots, but to get any more than that comes down to your opponents, and you really need to get a couple misses out of the people that you're playing. And the way the Flash team has been playing this weekend, maybe you don't expect that quite as much.
You do need good execution on your own shots, and there's another just a little bit off. They rub off that stone, and that leaves room for Kevin Marsh to make a play on this. Had he stayed corner frozen, you might have seen them walk up and peel guards. You could also have seen him play the freeze again, but a chance to make the hit. And this just isn't an opportunity that you wanted to give them. So just that few inches heavy on the last draw gives them a chance to make that hit.
Don't quite get to the inside though, and that's the same spot we saw last end where they were struggling to get to the insides of stone. So possibly just a maybe a run in the sheet there. On the other side, they had no problems. We saw the Epping team wreck on the guard almost twice that end. So maybe just this sheet is a little bit one-sided, and maybe just have to tighten up the broom or bring down the weight a little bit more on that side.
Patrick Jansen looking to come down and perhaps get to the inside of that stone. He's not looking to kill it, just needed to push it back and get his shooter into a good position. Looks like a pretty good shot there. So Colton Flasch content now to put the pressure on you. Keep the play in the middle, play a guard here. You know that John Epping has still got to deal with that shot stone at some point in time. I think it's Flasch sitting 2 right now, although Epping's not probably worried about the stone at the back of the forefoot so much.
No, and normally with a 4-point lead, you might see them walk up and peel one of the corner guards. But of course, with so many of those, their own rocks in the center, John's going to have to make some plays in the center of the sheet. So it's going to be a little while before even if he ever gets the opportunity to use those corner guards anyway. So instead, taking the opportunity to throw a bit of a guard here, if he puts it in a good spot, John won't be able to access that blue stone, although that one may be coming in a little bit deep. Can John make the double peel and roll towards his corners? Probably not roll into the rings, but set something up for later.
Well, he can probably make the double peel, but if you're Colton Flasch, do you mind if your opponent's playing a double peel when you're 4 up?
No, definitely not.
Yeah, I think John's probably looking for a place to draw first.
Yeah, and I don't really see a whole lot. Definitely the intern draw is there. I think it's a little bit tight with how much curl we've been seeing this week, but you do have that rock that's sort of just behind the tee line. You could maybe throw something a little bit heavier and hit and roll in off of that. You probably won't get shot, but at least get another rock in the forefoot. You'll have possibly an opportunity for an angle run in later.
The key to that, if they indeed decide to play it, is you can get another rock into a position where Colton Flasch can't get it out right away.
I think if you're Colton, though, you're pretty happy with the situation. You're making John force his hand if he wants to try and generate something here and take on some tough shots. And all you really need to do is, well, I was going to say just keep hitting blue, but with that last guard, that does make it a little bit difficult. You probably just, if he comes down, you're probably just following him down. If you have the opportunity for a hack waiter to remove it, that'd be great. But even just a freeze would be good.
The corner guard wasn't there. You might see Epping try to freeze that stone at the back of the forefoot, but I think the issue is with that corner guard where it is, you can't get there with the draw.
Yeah, I think they've gone with what I was originally thinking after taking a look at a couple of the other shots, not really seeing a whole lot that they're happy with. So only opportunity here is to really double peel. The good thing is with where that blue stone is at the top of the forefoot, it's pretty difficult for Colton to remove. He might be able to slash that rock in from the top 12, and there might be a hole, but definitely a good opportunity for him to jam something in there, and then John can draw around the corner to try and get his second point. I think either way, if you roll out on this double peel, it's probably okay, but I think they might like to stick around over at the side to give themselves some more room later.
Nothing out of the brush, makes the contact. He will lose the shooter as well, and the two guards both fly. So it continues to be Colton Flasch sitting 2. Third shot belonging to John Epping at the top of the 8-foot. A little bit difficult to remove. The two corner guards just protecting the edge of the 12. Calvin Schneider's going to make another attempt at the guard. And really looking to protect the blue stone so they take away the angle on the blue-red in the house.
Yeah, that's really the only chance for John Epping at the moment. He could, I guess, play the double tap, the red into the blue if he had to at the end of the end, but definitely wouldn't like to be forced into that, I don't think. That's a very precise shot. Although this one not quite curling as much as they would have liked. Do you have the opportunity to hit and roll in behind that and possibly make a double with it?
Yeah.
I think either way, if you make the red-red double, that's great. And if you hit it maybe a little bit thicker, it's certainly possible to pick that blue out, but in all likelihood, it probably jams on that other red stone at the back of the forefoot.
Yeah, and I was thinking on the other side of it, rather than risk hitting it too thick, even if you hit it a little thinner, miss the double, but roll all the way in behind the corner.
Absolutely. Plenty of options here. I think as long as you get your shooter buried somewhere, if it's buried behind the red guard or probably the blue guard is preferred, but even if you just roll buried behind the red one, I think you're going to be in a good situation.
That last guard attempt for the Flash team didn't curl over as far as they really needed it to. If you can expose that blue stone here, you're going to have something to work with. Comes down, makes the hit, but actually going to lose the shooter. I thought they might go a little quieter than that, actually.
Maybe just they were thinking too hard about trying to make the double, so they threw a little bit of extra weight, but not getting it quite into the spot. And then once again, just sort of that turn, that side of the sheet has been curling a little bit more so far today. So maybe just not quite making the adjustment, or thinking back to the out turns they threw last end and how straight they threw, or how straight they went, but that was the other side of the sheet. So maybe getting caught a little bit, unsure about exactly where the broom needs to come down for those hits.
So Colton Flasch continuing to sit 2, and with that stone rolling out, doesn't have to worry about any biters hanging around. He's going to throw another guard. And again, it's the blue stone at the top of the 4-foot he's looking to guard. That's the one that John Epping can really use. He'll be able to get at the outside edge of the red stone sitting shot rock, but tough to slash it for a double. It's so paper thin to catch the second stone. It's this blue stone at the top of the 8-foot that really is hurting him.
Absolutely. All you have to do is make sure that you don't leave a short run back.
Well, they did all they could to hold that as straight as they could, but
I don't know. I guess with that side, it does curl a bit more. Can you get in there and tap the blue?
I thought you might be able to. He's looking at coming around from the intern side, getting to second shot first, because he does have a shot to pick out the shot rock with his last one right now.
Yeah, that might be the smarter call. If you roll in just buried, it's going to be tricky for Colton. He probably has to follow you down through that hole again and try and remove it. And if he ever wrecks on the guard, like you said, you could just pick that red. I think he could probably see enough that he can stick around too for a multiple point. So
John Epping with his first stone here in the 4th end. Trailing by 4, but looking to try to set something up for his last one. If he can get a little bit of a flop under cover here, he could be sitting 2nd and 3rd, and shot rock, as he said, is exposed. It's close, needs that last little bit of finish. Does get just inside the nose, rolls over to the corner of the button, and
I think he would have maybe liked to roll an extra inch or two to make this shot a little bit tougher for Colton. He can.
Really? Looks pretty tough now.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's pretty good, don't get me wrong, but I think the opportunity is there for Colton to follow him down. If he can ever remove that rock and stay on the nose, it'll be very difficult to find a way to score if you're John.
Colton put the broom down as though he was going to follow it down and move it, and Dan and Kevin were already standing there. Are you sure? And he took a look at it. Oh, maybe this is harder than we thought. He had to take a little bit more ice, and this might be just a heavy draw now that he's playing.
Yeah, the only other option that he might have, I guess you could just guard that red stone. You probably leave a run back pick for John somewhere. You could probably run the high corner guard in of his own color for maybe 3 that way. So I think this is the better make if you're confident in the spot.
This is one where, given the scoreboard, even if you just corner froze to this on the outside so that you're only 3rd shot, that still makes it real hard for John Epping to get 2. Yes, he can make a play on shot stone, but he's going to have to roll a little bit. Looks like he's got enough weight to move it. Oh, what a great shot.
Yes, that really is excellent weight control there by the Flash team, and that's really what's impressed me so much in the couple games that I've seen from these guys all weekend. Of course, Colton himself known as a very strong hitter, but has had that really nice touch weight. The hack waiters, the ones that are just through the rings. He's made a ton of those shots this weekend. I think that's why they're in the position that they are at the top of the standings.
I don't know if John Epping has a shot to score. Again, he can't quite see all of the shot rock. He's going to have to roll a little bit if he plays directly onto it. And with the shot that Colton Flasch just threw, he might still have shot rock. Can he drive the high corner guard and catch enough of the bluestone to dead jam it on shot rock? It's hard to tell. We can't.
Yes.
From that overhead. Well, that might be his only shot to score.
I think it is there. I think the angle works. You might have to run it pretty close to those other red guards, but I do think it's there. And obviously, if you're getting it through the hole, you're probably getting one of the reds out. I don't see a way that you're...
Well, I don't think you can ever get them both because the blue's too close together. I was wondering, could you get it directly onto the blue onto red on the center line side of it so that it stays for one? Looks like he's going to play the tap on shot stone, and the question here will be, can he hold the shooter for a single point?
Is he? Yeah, I guess he is
really
playing
got a
a tap on shot stone. I thought for a second he might be trying to come around and promote his own blue, but that is so precise. I think you're right. I think if you can come up to that red with maybe just back 8 weight and get as much of it as you can, you probably can stick around in the full 4 for a point.
Well, he didn't have the weight that he needed to move it that far, and that's maybe the only reason he sticks in 4-foot to get second shot. It'll be a steal of 1 for Colton Flasch. He now takes a 6-1 lead into the 5th end.
SaskTel Be Kind Online wants to stop cyberbullying. Want in on the action? We award up to $1,000 for youth initiatives that help spread kindness and prevent bullying. What great idea do you have to help stop bullying? SaskTel can help. Go to BeKindOnline.com and apply for a grant today. Together, we can make a difference.
We truly believe that this is an opportunity to partner within a sport that is emerging. It's getting stronger and stronger every year, and the continued success of teams like yourselves really helps to elevate not only the sport but also those companies that are involved with you.
We love being part of community events and community participation, everything from golf to hockey to curling to supporting teams like Team Flasch. It's right in our wheelhouse. And it's allowed us to grow our company significantly, which for positive reasons means we've got to grow our plant as well. So we are going into a large expansion on our current site, and we will be expanding the brewery's capacity, almost doubling it, and at the same time increasing our efficiency. So we'll be using less water, less energy to make the same great beer.
A steal of 1 in the 4th end has Colton Flasch up by a score of 6-1. Flasch looking to secure the top seed into the playoff round. John Epping going to have to play comeback here. He needs this win to stay alive. A loss would eliminate the Epping team, and we would know our 5 playoff teams if that happens, although the seeding would still depend on the results of the draw at 8:30 Saskatchewan time tonight. And this is a shot we've seen from the Flasch team a few times this weekend. They get that corner guard up against them with a bit of a lead, and they're going to try to play the tick from the outside edge, push it into the ring so that they have a rock they can maybe make a play on the next one.
Looks pretty good.
Boy, that was almost too greedy. He almost pushed it just through the 12-foot, and it would have been still in play, but out of the rings.
Wouldn't that have been good? So, does stick around in the rings, though. So, John, the opportunity to guard this rock, I'm sure you'll probably see Flasch try and make a play on it some way with some kind of lightweight. But he will have to be careful if he makes this, because the 5 rock rule will still be in effect, so he won't be able to remove the guard from play.
One thing we have seen this week, and again, it's because there's so much late finish, it can be very difficult to put a guard on a rock that's already on the rings, especially when you've only got the one guard to work with. It's got to be perfect. And there again, you can see from the hack end, it looks like Kevin Marsh can see maybe almost half of that rock.
And with how much curl there is, depending on the weight that you're throwing, this ice looks a little bit tighter than I expected them to take. But with how much curl it is, that guard really shouldn't be in play when you're trying to remove this stone at the back.
I've seen them rub a couple of guards already, and rub's another one, but that doesn't hurt them that bad because they actually leave it in play. That was still a free guard. If he had pushed it all the way to the divider, it would go back. As it is, that stone at the back of the 12-foot is now exposed, and John Epping's going to ask for another guard.
Yeah, I think maybe getting really lucky if you're the Flasch team with that kind of weight. If you hit any more of that, it's going to easily remove it from play, but get away with one, and they basically just made a board weight tick.
Yeah, that
on a corner guard.
That corner guard that's left sitting there is only protecting maybe a couple of inches of the 12-foot. It would be hard to use it. And of course, if you're John Epping, you need to generate some points here. You need a corner guard.
But now with the 5 rock rule over, I'm sure you'll see Colton, if he gets another opportunity at that back one, I'm sure he'll take it, but I'm sure he won't be too worried about just walking up and peeling some guards either.
Maybe some question as to which way you play this. If you play it from the inside, you risk jamming it and rolling it back to the middle on the blue one. You play it this way, you've got to be conscious of the red stone at the top of the 4-foot, and that was what the discussion was. So looking to hit it thin enough to drive it over that. No problem there.
And how long are we going to see this go on? Will John continue to just guard, or I think so for at least a couple more. He's going to have to make a play eventually, but
the problem is that when he does make a play on that one on the top of the 4-foot, he's going to have to leave some kind of double, even if it's a thin double, because that stone at the back of the 12 is so deep.
Yeah, his only chance would be if he's able to roll all the way to the other side of the house, but of course making a perfect roll 4 feet is not easy even at this highest level.
Comes in a little bit deeper with that corner guard, so now it's a little bit easier to remove from the center line side.
And with a 5-point lead, Colton is going to be more than happy just to walk up and peel the guards out of play for a while. Force John to decide when he wants to make the play in the rings, because as you said, he'll more than likely leave some kind of double at the end of the day.
Yeah, it's going to be hard not to leave a double, and that might be what John is thinking here, is play the freeze, hoping that Colton will make a play on the open stone, and so then maybe you can just continue to guard the middle for a little bit, not have to leave him a double.
Yeah, if you put it anywhere close, put it enough where there's really no double, and I'm sure Colton won't necessarily entertain the idea of trying to play something that isn't there. So if you can make a good freeze here, yes, he'll likely just hit the open stone with a 5-point lead.
Wants to get right to the face, though. This has got to curl a little bit. Well, he only gets to half of it.
That's far enough off that they're definitely going to take on the attempt at the double. Just make sure you get enough for the first rock to get it out. You don't really care if you remove your own stone, because that's one fewer thing for John to freeze to. But if you can get it probably thin third, I think the double's there.
Quarter maybe even. Sweep has been off and on. He's close, maybe a little thin. Oh, actually by the blue one. Well, I think that caught them off guard because Colton actually looked like he got up in a position to sweep the blue one, and it slides by it.
Yeah, that's not what you expect to see from this team. Absolutely, they've been so good already this weekend, let alone this game. You haven't really seen a complete miss from them yet like that.
No, and you didn't see them try the offside sweep to get extra curl. As I said, I thought when Colton jumped up, he looked like he was getting in position to sweep the blue. I think they thought they had a piece of it.
Yeah, taking a quick look at the replay here, they were sweeping that to keep it straight for about the first 2/3 of the sheet. So maybe he just, it's possible Catlin just maybe did something in his release there that fooled Colton a little bit. It's tough to say, but either way, they didn't think they were that far off.
Well, it gives the Epping team a chance to play the guard. Now, if you're Colton Flasch, in order to stop him from getting a big end here, you got to play the guard. If you could play the open stone, but then he comes around again and he's probably got a chance for 3. So they're going to play. Looks like they're going to play the peel towards the back one.
Yeah, peel the guard into the rock on the side. Yes. There's definitely some doubles here. You could take on, obviously, the straight run back double, but of course, if you ever end up just stuffing it and stay as a guard, that's not what you're looking for. So just play this like a normal peel. Make sure you get the stone, and if you're close enough, you have the opportunity to get that one over at the side of the rings as well.
A little off and on in the brush here. He's close to getting that back one. Does catch it and spills them both out of the rings. Great shot by Colton Flasch, and that's the kind of shot that can take this from a possible 3 down to John Epping having a shot at 2, but Colton Flasch with a 5-point lead. More than happy to give up 2 right now. He'll trade 2 points for the hammer here. So John Epping just looking to drawing towards the side with that corner guard, but not really trying to bury it. The key here is to not leave any kind of double. So he wants to get them close to even. If you leave any kind of an angle where Colton Flasch can come off one and get the other, you may see him make a run at the double. This is going to have to slide a little bit yet. And I don't know, did he leave that high enough? I think he did leave that high enough. If Colton Flasch wants to take it on, there might be a shot for the double there. Certainly, as long as you kill 1, it's no worse than 2. Might even be a little bit of a thin double. Colton making his way down. Catlin taking one last look at just how much of this do we need to hit. A third of a rock is going to be close. Looks to me like half might be just a little too much. You probably go across the face of the second one. Colton Flasch with the peel double on his first one. Chance for a in-off double on the second, and makes it again. Off the back end of the second one, his shooter will go through the rings, but that leaves just that one wide corner guard, and John Epping, no chance here for a deuce. I expect he'll throw this one through and keep the last rock. Back-to-back doubles for Colton Flasch to get out from what could have been 3. Forcing John Epping to throw his last stone through and take the blank here in the 5th. And that means that Colton Flasch will keep his 5-point lead going into the 6th end of play. John Epping will keep last rock into the 6th.
The reason we trust Western Sales with our business is the people. I'm sure that there's 100 years experience coming out of that shop. We trust them because we do a CMI on our combine and on our tractor. When our equipment comes out of Western Sales, it's going to be good, because if it's not, they send us another combine, they send us another tractor. And we're not naive to the fact that that probably costs them a lot of money. So we just know that the service that we're getting at Western Sales is above par to everybody else.
Well, John Epping perhaps thinking he had an opportunity building there in that 6th end. Back-to-back doubles by Colton Flasch. And in the end, all he could do was blank and try to keep last rock and see if he could do something with it here in the 6th end. Sean Joyce with Matthew Hall here at the Curling Stadium Martensville International. This is the final preliminary round game for these two teams. Colton Flasch, if he can hold on to this lead, will go into the playoffs as the #1 seed. John Epping's going to have to pull out some kind of a comeback or he will be eliminated with a loss here.
And we received a message from our producer Jerry a little bit ago that they did update the draw to the button standings following this round, and taking a look at that, Colton is still in the lead. So I hesitate to say, because I'm not entirely sure how the tiebreakers work here, but it's possible they've already clinched first place. But of course, they don't know that on the ice. They're still playing to ensure themselves. And of course, you probably want to win this game regardless and have a clear record ahead of everybody, because that could determine who has hammer in the playoffs too.
Yeah, that's a good point. Even if they use the draw to the button, and I think you're right, based on what I've got in front of me, they may well already have the top seed clinched, but I don't think, and again, I'm sure Jerry's listening, he'll correct me if I'm wrong on this one, we'll maybe have that before the game's over, but when you get into the playoffs, like you said, if both teams have identical records, I do not think they use the cumulative draw to the button to determine who's got last rock. In that case, I think you have to do a pregame draw again. So to be clear of the field, he may have last rock advantage.
Which is huge. I mean, especially at the top men's level, when you think about in an 8-end game, having the hammer to start is pretty close to a 60 to 65% advantage. So that's pretty big if you're looking to go deep, and also getting the bye to the semis. They'll only have to win 2 games. So having that advantage in both of those games would be huge for them, I'm sure.
Well, we've seen what they can do with hammer in the first end through their opening 5 games. They are a dangerous team when they've got that last rock. We have no idea what they're like when they have the hammer against them. they just don't give you the hammer in the first end.
No, and a lot of I don't think they've had too many ends outside of the first end either where they've not had hammer. 2 of the games were shutouts. They beat Michael Brunner 7-0 and Yanagisawa 4-0, and against Clybrink an 8-3 win and Hartung a 5-2 win. So probably very few ends where they have had the hammer regardless.
Looking to bring that stone into the top 4 foot, slides a little bit deep, rubs off their own, ends up in the back 12. Well, Epping does have the 2 corner guards to work with here this end. That's the formula that you need to try to generate 3, and 3 starts to become pretty huge for Epping. You're down 5 with 3 ends to play. If you only get 2, you're going to have to steal a deuce somewhere just to get to an extra end. If you can pick up 3 points here with last rock, yeah, you're going to have to do it 3 times in a row, but you still only have to steal 1 at a time. And you got a playbook for stealing 1. Every team out here has stolen 1 lots of times.
Absolutely. And even if they don't, thinking back to the old Mark Dacey Brier final here, if they could ever pull a 3 and a force and a 3, that would only tie the game. It wouldn't win it for them, but at least put them into an extra end, which is another way to do it. Now, like, we're stealing 2 ends or taking 3 twice on Flash in the last 3 ends. Probably neither situations that you want to find yourself having to do, but
you're
it's
not going to
where
get
they
good
find
Vegas
themselves now.
odds. You're not going to get good Vegas odds for sure, but right now you'd take it. Anything is better than, again, as I said, if you can only pick up 2 here, you have to steal a deuce somewhere along the way just to get to an extra end.
Right, there really is the only reasonable way to a win here probably includes a 3 somewhere, and you're running out of hammers to do it. So,
well, your choices now are: do you group your 2 stones, bring another one in, knowing they're going to peel, you guard for your life, and hope you've got a chance to remove all the reds with your last stone?
yeah, I think the only way, if you really have to go for 3, I think you have to put another one around your corner guard at some point and hope Colton misses the run back.
I know what John's thinking. He doesn't want them all together. He'd like to come to that back one, but here's the problem. How do you get there? Again, the corner guard's probably in the way to make that freeze. It's a nice shot if you can make it, because then at least you didn't have to group your stones. This is a tough draw.
It's like they're gonna give it a try, and the other thing is not only how do you get there, but where do you put it? You could of course go buried behind the one on the button, but that just leaves a short run back. If you leave a piece exposed, I'm sure Colton can throw it hard enough to pick it out. We've seen these rocks have had trouble going out of the rings when they're going sideways, when you're trying to pick out 2 buried stones, but with it so far at the back of the rings, it doesn't need to go far.
Comes down and with enough weight to just tap that through. Colton Flasch with a choice now. He could still peel the corner guard. You could play the pick out on the back one. Don't think he wants to stay if you make the play on the back one this time. You don't want to give John the chance to play the same shot. If you peel the corner guard, there's a thin double on the 2 blues that are already in the rings.
Yeah, I think you have to deal with one of the stones in the rings this late in the end. The only other option that you might have would be to freeze the other rock around the corner, and that would basically cut out both stones. But of course, that's such a precise shot, and with a 5-point lead, it's probably not worth the risk. So just going to make sure they take out this back one. I think, yeah, they would like to roll out there, and they did, so that John now has nothing else to freeze to, and we'll see if he tries to go around that or decides to maybe try and sink another one around the corner.
Looks like he's opting to come around the red stone on the corner of the button.
Just a little bit surprising to you? I mean, it's a very short run back, and for someone as talented as Colton, likely he's going to make his own color going back, make some noise most of the time. Of course, if you go around the corner, there's still the run back, and Colton would be pretty good, but at least he's running your color.
He's not going to play the run back. If you come around the corner right now, he peels the guard.
Right.
And you have to guard it again because you can't leave him the double. You need 3. So I think what he's thinking here is let's just not leave him the double. You don't mind if this even stops just nibbling the back 12. If it's biting, and I think it looks like it is, then that's as good a spot as you could have put it.
Absolutely. As much separation between the red and that one as you could possibly do. think you sort of have to play the run back on down the center line here. Of course, if you're John, you're hoping that they miss it entirely, but I'm sure Catlin will be close.
If you're John, you're probably not that fussy. You'd be happy if he dead stuffed it so you could actually freeze to the back one.
That would be good too, yeah.
Anything that he could throw that gives you something to work with.
Oh.
And he actually drives it just by the back stone. Well, now you're on third's final stone. Now you've got time to come around. You come around, sit second, third, and fourth.
And then, of course, this move is mostly out of a little bit of desperation. You could, of course, hit that red stone, but pretty tough to not leave a double somewhere for Colton. And if you go around this guard, of course, still 2 rocks to come. If this was Colton's last, he could sort of put something on the line and just draw to the open side. But I think with a big lead, probably first not risk giving up a double for 4. Probably just hit the back one and give up 3, and you still have a 2-point lead with 2 ends to play with the hammer.
Well, no, I don't think you can hit the back one if you bury this one, because if you hit the back one, he's just going to loop another one around.
Right, not now. Sorry, I meant if this was the same situation on his last one.
Okay,
but don't quite get enough curl there. Could see enough to maybe make the double. Be very tight to the guard, but I think it's there.
He could always just run the guard too. We saw Colton do this last end, peel the guard in on the angle and try to clip even just the back one would be great. But I think he's got enough of that to play the double. He went out to the out to the hog line to take a look how much room he's got past the guard. He'd have to play it probably over the top and loses the shooter that way. There'd still be a chance for 2, but again, he'll give up 2 here all day long. John Epping really needs to find a way to get 3. So it looks like the indication was over the top double. You never like to assume a double's going to get made, but this can't feel good for John Epping after the 2 doubles he watched last end.
No, with how much curl we've been seeing this week, it's hard to imagine not getting that draw in behind that guard. So, especially upset that he's left an opportunity at all.
Nothing out of the brushers yet. He's close. Might be a little thin on the first one. Does come back over the top, and shooter comes across onto his own stone, but stays in the corner of the 4-foot. So Epping continuing to sit second and third. Well, we're assuming that one at the back is in the rings. It would be hard to be out of the rings and still in play where it is.
Now, this is sort of the same situation I was just talking about. If John goes around the corner here, it's pretty tough to imagine Colton taking on the risk. Now, if he made a good draw, put it on the tee line on the other side of the 8-foot where there's no double, you get your force, but I would also be risking the 4 if you ever leave a double somewhere. So if John makes a good one here, might see him hit the back one, just concede the 3 and take the 2-point lead, but we'll see. I'm sure if he has an opportunity for a double somewhere, he's going to take it on.
John Epping with his first stone here in the 6th end, trailing by 5. A chance to possibly set up 3.
Hard line.
Looking for the come around on the corner guard. Just needs to be careful not to leave any kind of double here. got room by the front one. It's going to get a little bit more finish on this one than they got on the last one. Does come down to the face of his own stone. And Colton Flasch, no hesitation. He's going to play the draw here.
Well, no shortage of confidence, at least. And this isn't necessarily a difficult shot. I mean, as long as you put it somewhere in the 8 foot, with how good these guys are, to put it on the tee line isn't necessarily tricky, but you are risking a 4 if you ever possibly slip a little deep and you leave a double off the other one. But I'm sure more often than not, you're going to see him put this in a good spot.
You would think so. The only thing that might make you question it is that it's September and not November. But
Exactly.
These guys have not been playing like it's early season. These guys have looked like they're in mid-season form all week.
No, and I brought this up in one of their previous games as well. Maybe one of the very few, if not only, teams that did not have a lineup change in the offseason with the new quadrennial starting. So I think they're really sort of benefiting from being comfortable with each other and knowing how everybody throws and sticking with it. And it's paying dividends here early. And here's another shot where just puts it in pretty much the perfect spot. I don't think John could throw it hard enough to make that double if there is one.
He's going to maybe take a look at, is there anything we could do with angle, run the guard? No, he's just going to, I think what you're going to see him do is play the draw to the button and then shake hands.
Yeah, I don't see any reasonable way to play on down 4. You're looking to steal 2 twice just to tie it and then the extra. That's a big ask.
So John Epping with his final stone here in the 6th end, trailing by 5, facing 2, looking to draw to the button. Pressure's just cleaning a little bit early, backed away, not too far. Waiting on the line. He's got a nice line to the button. Colton Schneider thought maybe he'd have a chance to do something with it. It stops on the back half of the button. Epping does pick up his single point, and that's enough. Down 4, decides to shake hands. Colton Flasch will pick up the 6-2 win over John Epping here in this last preliminary round match for the two of them. That will eliminate John Epping. We know who the playoff teams are now on the men's side, but still another draw tonight to determine the final seeding. Colton Flasch will go into the playoffs as the number 1 seed. On the men's side, there are still Yannick Schwaller will make the playoffs. Mike McEwen is at 4-1. He also makes the playoffs. And the other 2 teams, it's Steve Laycock and
Yanagisawa.
Yanagisawa, the Japanese teams. They know that they're in the playoffs. 3 of those teams still have to play tonight, and the final seedings won't be determined until those games are finished. Those games start 8:30 Saskatchewan time. It's 6:46 here now. We hope you'll join us. On behalf of myself, Sean Joyce, and my partner in this broadcast, Matthew Hall, we want to thank you for joining us and hope you'll be here for the final round-robin game tonight and the playoffs all day tomorrow. Thanks for joining us on Curling Stadium.
Imagine a place with endless possibilities. Imagine a place where people come together to build families, businesses, and communities. Imagine a place where small-town values and progressive qualities are in perfect harmony. Imagine a place rich with so much vitality. Imagine your future in Martensville.
Imagine being able to stream every curling game from every sheet from any event, be it your Wednesday league game, Bonspiel, or corporate event. Curling Stadium offers an all-inclusive streaming solution featuring high-quality cameras, ease of use, great reliability, and minimal installation. Offering your sponsors customizable ad space on your streamed curling games and being able to sell video packages to your corporate events for increased revenue. With Curling Stadium, you can stream to any device, be it your mobile phone, tablet, or computer. Push the feed to your desired platform, be it Facebook, YouTube, or any other social media. Curling Stadium is simply the way forward. Where it's commonplace in other sports to televise every game, we want to do the same. Curling is a global sport, and it's time it gets the coverage it needs. Make your curling club the next Curling Stadium.